And good evening, fellow friends. I'm Ravindran. I'm very happy to receive you once again to this session on bank frauds. Our entire Indian economy, including all banking sectors, they have been affected because of lot of frauds that have been involved, that have been created, that have been occurred. Anything you can say. Because of that, our entire banking industry is shattered. Our Indian economy is shattered. And whenever anyone say that it's a fraud, then they are pinpointing at the auditors only. Why? What this auditor is doing? Why he has not found this? So this is, we are all made as the, we can say, even it's not a scapegoat, but everyone is pinpointing at you. Why this chartered accountant has failed to identify these frauds? So this is very important thing. So this session is my favorite session, and even I can say that this bank fraudulent session I have almost presented to more than 29 SIRC branches, that is Southern Indian Regional Council branches, I have made in person, and this is my favorite topic. And if you want to ask anything with reference to any fraud, at one point of time, I want to tell you how to get loan from 5 banks based on one document. This also I'll tell you. Kindly watch the program. This session may be for 1.5 hours to 2 hours. It will end. And there are a lot of case studies of that. But I used to select some 3 or 4 cases wherein you can easily understand how to detect a fraud. And I'm going to the presentation. And today we are going to discuss about the bank frauds. And if you fail to detect the fraud, see, RBI has clearly issued one circular saying that any fraud is undetected during the course of audit. This is very important to you. If any fraud is undetected during the course of audit, then the auditor is personally held responsible for the loss to the bank. They say that for the loss to the bank, apart from facing the insured action, RBI action, and even action from courts, as well as from the bankers also. So once again, I'll repeat the instruction given by the Reserve Bank of India. If any fraud is undetected during the course of audit, then the auditor is held personally responsible for the loss to the bank, apart from losing our certificate, facing inquiry, and everything. Even you have to face a lot of inquiries from the central government, court, and everything. So they made the one word, the loss to the bank. That means if there is a fraud of 1 crore, and the bankers, they will also include your name as a party to the agreement. This is the responsibility that everyone has given to the chartered accountant. If you do the audit, without giving any importance, even without telling anything, without finding anything, and if it is found in future, then you are in trouble. So with this caution, I want to start the session. So a chartered accountant is responsible to the insured, bankers, Reserve Bank of India, and even to the government also, and also as the court also. Now, this year, the government, the RBI has introduced a new LFAR format. In the new LFAR format, which the RBI has introduced on 5/9/2020, they have included, and even I can say that they have given much importance to the fraud session. You please refer point number 4 of LFAR. They have given 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 paras. You please download new LFAR, and you can see that point number 1, point number 2, point number 3, point number 4 of LFAR. Because this is going to, though we are doing the LFAR very lightly, without giving importance, though we are doing the audit on test check basis, but this year LFAR is going to be specific, and particularly they are given much importance to the fraudulent area. This is the first one point. First point, they say that, so you have to go and ask this letter from the branch manager, that frauds detected and classified, fraud detected and classified, but confirmation of reporting to RBI is not available on record at the branch. So the first thing, you have to get a report from the branch that how many frauds that the branch itself they have detected, and how many of them have been classified as fraud, detected or classified, and how many of them have been reported to RBI, and how many of them have been, after reporting, why RBI has not given its comment, or why the RBI has not given its observation. For that, you have to give a specific answer. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. So this is the first such they have given to the chartered accountant. In the previous LFAR, there is no such para. So the first thing you have to ask for the record at the branch level. And I am moving to point number 2. Whether any suspected or likely fraud cases are reported by the branch. Here they say that the branch, they have to inform the RBI after it is being confirmed by the regional office or controlling authorities. In the first case, after confirmation received by the branch, they have to inform this to the RBI, and the confirmation from RBI is pending. In the second point, you are specific. They want a specific report from chartered accountants. Even this is applicable to the concurrent auditors also. Whether any suspected or likely fraud cases have been reported by the branch to the head office to India. So you have to get the list. You have to get the contents from the branch manager because you don't know. So for that, there will be a specific record in the file. So in the branch file, you will find this. Yeah, if the manager said there is no such record that we have reported, you give it. You ask them to give it in writing. So even during audit of a statutory branch, whatever you say and whatever manager replied, they say that there is no evidence, then ask them to commit it in writing because you will be safe. So here they say that any suspected fraud that has already been found out by the branch and which has been reported to the branch to the head office, and if so, provide the details of thereof related to status of investigation. So after reporting the fraud to the head office, what are the steps that the head office or branch has taken to as a follow-up action towards investigation? What are the steps the branch has taken or the head office has taken? For that, there should be a proper recording at the branch level. So this point also in this LFAR you have to give importance. I am not just explaining the importance of LFAR fraud in the LFAR for the year 2021 because this is a new format of LFAR and these are the new details that you have to submit during this year. During this statutory audit, you have to submit. And the third point, so this is where every chartered accountant is being to work. Every chartered accountant has been pulled to give a specific report. This is going to change our entire profession, entire attention towards the bank audit. In respect of fraud, based on your overall observation, so they want specific. What is your overall observation? Please provide your comments on the potential risk areas which may lead to perpetuation of fraud. One is finding the fraud, already that has been found out. Now, what are, even after the branch reporting, there are some frauds which have not been reported by the branch to the head office. If according to your audit working, if you find any fraud, you have to give a specific comment. That's why they say that based on your overall observation, this is very, very dangerous area, dangerous sentence. Please provide your comment. But in LFAR, you have to give some test check item. But with reference to fraud, there is no test check items. So this is you have to give a specific report. First point, falsification of accounts or false representation by the borrower. So falsification of accounts and false representation. Here you have been forced to verify all the accounts, whether the account operation are true or not. And you have to false representation by the borrower. Where you can find this, you can find from the deposit deed protection, from the legal opinion. Suppose if towards advocate, if any fabricated document has been given, everything you have to see. So this also made you to work. So you have to know whether there is any falsification of accounts or false representation of the borrowing. Next point is misappropriation of funds, especially through related party or shell company transaction, where you will find. So my sincere suggestion, normally all the current, all the, even you have to scrutinize the current account also, because anti-money laundering activities will also be there. So one, and they say that misappropriation of funds. Misappropriation of fund means the borrowing accounts. After the loan, whether the assets have been created, whether the funds have been utilized for the purpose for which the loan is sanctioned, then there is no diversion to the sister concerns. You have to see, you can see, when you have to see the debit, please see the debit. Normally we have to see that, okay, the transactions are good, but point number two, in fraud head, point number two, it forced you to verify. So don't give clean report. You can give the clean report only after proper verification, because for this also it consumes lot of time. This consumes lot of time. Please, you have to see the debit side of the loan account. See, credit side shows only the receipts come into the account. Don't worry. They say that the appropriation of funds, because the fund diversion from the account, where it goes, whether it's being properly utilized or not. Then shell company transactions. Here in this new format, they have included. They say that is there any debit to shell company transaction? That point you have to give. They want a specific comment on this point. So that means you have been indirectly or directly forced to work, forced to see all the account transactions. Next point. Third one, forgery and fabrication of financial statements like invoices. See, they pulled our opinion on the invoices. The invoices have been submitted to buy the material, to buy the machinery, to get the house, to get the completion of housing loan. What are the invoices that the borrower has produced? Those invoices are not forgery. Those invoices have not been fabricated. Sometimes the address, GST number, everything is wrong. So in that also they can fabricate the machinery. Fabricate the invoice. So you have to see, and they also, you are also supposed to see the debtor list and stock statements. Debtor list, stock statements, trade credit documents, shipping bills, work order, encumbrance certificate, and avail the credit. So that means you have to verify the data list, and you have to see. Normally, we are seeing that to arrive at the DP about data about 90 days, we are not considering it. But they say that you have to give a specific comment that the data are genuine. That point you have to give. So you know that data are genuine. So you have to verify the entries, and if possible, you have to ask the bankers to produce the address copy of the data. And you can test check some 2 or 3 data. So those are I verified, I clarified with 3 data. So I am satisfied, and I have done a test check basis. And you have to see the stock statement. The stock statement which they have submitted are genuine or not. So normally, as per the norms, the charter accountant, the branch, they have to get the data statement and stock statement duly signed by the charter accountant of that company within 6 months. Once in 6 months, they have to get the data statement and the stock statements duly signed by the charter accountant. If that is not there, you can say that in the absence of the charter accountant certificate, I am not able to give comment on it. So you have to play the game safely. So, but anyhow, on the prima facie, if you see that there is anything wrong, then you have to give. So shipping bills, work orders, even sometimes fabricated work orders will also be given by the borrower, the export. Even for domestic credit, they can say that, sir, before sanction of the loan, manager says what are the work orders that you have got on hand. They produce some lot of fabricated orders also. So this also you have to verify. Then fourth point is use of current accounts outside consortium. So consortium accounts, outside consortium means there is other than consortium where the trust and retention account is being maintained to divert the funds. Sometimes the funds have been diverted to trust account also. So if there is any diversion from the loan to the trust account or from the to trust account, that also you have to give a comment on it. You have to go through it. It's very, very simple, sir. You are supposed to verify all loan accounts, debit side, all current accounts. You are supposed to verify all the current account also. Even if possible, you have to verify the SB account also. And point number 5, list of debtors, creditors were being fabricated and receivables were not followed up or written off of debt of related parties. So this you can find from the financial statement. This point also you have to see how you know that creditors are not genuine, how you know that the debtors are not genuine. So this is a question that you have to see from the audit angle. Whenever you are going for audit, you have to be careful. In each and every account, you have to see the debtors, you have to see the creditors. Otherwise, those debtors are paid, and that too related to the debts related to the debts due to the related parties. That point you have to see. Next one is fake export bill and shipping bill. Yes, sir. This is the very, very dangerous area. They pulled us, the RBI has pulled all the chartered accountants to verify the export invoices, shipping bills that have been submitted to the bank are genuine or not. Because of that is, you can claim a lot of subsidies in the form of export. And you can even the shipping bill without even transporting the goods, in order to do anti-money laundering without any goods, they have fabricated some duty drawback. To claim the duty drawback also, they are doing all type of fraud in it. One is they are sending less quantity and quoted more price. So duty drawback will come on the at a higher rate. So they have sent one item and say they have sent onion. Onion is exempt from, vegetables are exempt from the GST, but they have exported some steel item inside it. So in that manner, they will do a lot of fake export and shipping bills. And overstatement of invoices. What is overstatement? Say you are sold already the order is only for 1 lakh, but you have raised a bill for 3 lakhs. How you can find this? You go to the party's balance sheet, or even you can go to the bank's statement. Out of 3 lakhs, 1 lakh has been received. So the 2 lakhs is the fabricated amount. So this 2 lakh will not come. But the party, what he will, in order to claim duty drawback, he will increase the invoice amount. This is the overstatement of invoice. That also you have to see. And stock statement, whether original stock statement has been given or not. Even you can see the shipping bills, turnover, fly-by-night operation, including the cases where vendors and related associate parties manufacturing units are not available on the register. So production of the invoice should contain a proper address. If the address is not proper, then that means it's a fabricated or fake export bill. So in this manner, you have to verify. So the RBI has forced us to verify debtors, creditors, general, local trade, as well as the invoices and shipping bills related to the export. That point you have to see. Next one is fourth point in the fraud. Whether the system of early warning framework is working effectively and as required, the early warning signal form on the basis of classifying account as a registered fraudulent account. So, or a fake. So the thing is, the banking system, they say that on overall basis, whether the banking system gives an early warning signal if there is any fraud. So this is applicable only when you know the all banking transaction, and when you do the transaction at 100%, then only you are able to verify and give the system. And if you say that yes, the branch has got an early warning framework, and if anything goes wrong in future, then you have been trapped, you have been caught. So you have to report everything by way of giving correct answers. Correct. You are, after verifying everything, you have to give the classification correct. Okay, I'm. Is there any? Is it clear? I want you to put it in the chat box. Is it clear for the LFAR? If you got any in the LFAR, if you got any doubt with reference to fraud for 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm ready to clarify. You can put it in the chat box, please. This session is going to be a very, very interesting session, because once why it's my favorite topic. That's why I said, and this LFAR content, that will definitely change your audit program, change your audit planning. Yes, Lalitha ma'am, thank you for this. It's a good going, sir. Thank you. And any observation up to this, please? Why I am giving, even I can take even another 15-20 minutes also more, because this portion is going to definitely affect your certificate. That's why I said, though, so the attendance is almost 46 friends, they have come now, but this 46 persons, definitely they will do the audit correctly. And anything, any doubt up to this, I will clarify. Otherwise, I can move to the next point. We need to ask this for the system. I think Subramanian Ganapathy sir, yeah, you come sir, good evening. And we want to ask the system put up in the bank to find out early warning signals. Sir, the system, first you should know the system, sir. First you should know the system. For that, we have to do the audit sincerely. If you do the audit sincerely, definitely you can find. Whatever be the system, whatever be the software, everything. But unless until you know the basic operation, we will not definitely in a position to find any fraud. So this entire session, I am going to talk only from the fraudulent angle. We know that banks, they have got very good internal control, and we need to ask the system, or the system put up in the bank. See, it's a very, very simple thing, sir. I already said in a lot of meetings, I said, you have to see the opening, loan open during there and close during there. That is, there will be a chance for fraud. Then utilization, those things we will see on a later point, and utilization of subsidy. And you have to ask for the system audit, last system audit done by the system auditor. Even we can quote that in the system audit report dated on such thing, the system auditor has given the report like this. So I have relied on the system auditor. That also you can put it. But my sincere request to the fellow members, don't take up the audit very, very lightly. It is going to be very, very tough during this financial year. Please take the audit very seriously. I'm moving to the next point of fraud. So this I have already said. This point you have to bear in mind. Few members just now they came. I want to say this. If any fraud is undetected during the course of audit, then the auditor is held personally responsible for the loss to the bank, apart from facing our insured action, bank action, court action, anything. Who are all the persons they have been affected because of your report, you are answerable. Please do the audit very, very carefully. And here I'll go step by step. Who commits fraud? The staff. He can do the commitment of fraud. Depositors, borrower, outsiders, they can also do the fraud at the bank. And by the nexus between the internal and external, each case I'll discuss later. Internal. So staff, without staff involvement, nothing can be possible. It is not possible. But in few cases, because of negligence, because of non-following the internal rules and regulations, by negligence also, the outsider can try to do fraud inside the branch. So that is also possible. But both the staff and internal and external, that is both the staff and outsiders, they can also collude and do the fraud. This I'll explain in a case study on a later part. Then next point is the reasons to commit fraud. So this I'll go fast because these are the things you can know it. Improper recruitment of employees, lack of training, job rotation, discipline, and the indebtedness of the employees. See, I request you to verify all the staff account carefully, all the loan account of the staff carefully, and you have to observe why that much of amount has come into the account of that staff. Why there was frequent return of check returns by the employees. If the checks have been returned, that means he has borrowed something. Why these? Actually, staff check should not be returned. This is the RBI guidelines. Banks staff check should not be returned, but everyone, even they are treating the employees are at par with the public. So you have to see the account transaction of the staff. So thereby you can get the report from the bank. If there is any involvement of fraud, you can do it, you can do it. And you can see side business interest, financial or otherwise outside the employment activities. And I can say that this is not possible during the statutory audit. This is possible only when you are going as the concurrent auditor. Because when you are going for concurrent auditor, don't stick only to the audit. You have to also concentrate on the staff activities, how they are moving, how they are behaving, and in even which mode they are coming into the bank. That's why I said the next point, extravagant living standards of the employee. That means the manager is coming in Chata scooter, but the clerk he may come in car. So you have to see the standard of life of the staff. So if that is there, you can prove. I have found out some 3 cases in this point. So I used to observe how the staff comes, how he is behaving. Even by putting the even the what's the chain, bracelet. You can ask, you can see why this man is putting this much of big size bracelet. Normal bracelet you can do it, but if he has put some 7 sovereigns or 8 sovereigns of bracelet, then you have to be very, very careful. Then careless and casual attitude towards the operations and lack of belonging, sincerity and enthusiastic approach also make the person to commit a fraud. And what are the psychological factors? That is lack of identification of if that staff has done a lot of work, but his work has not been recognized by the top officials, then he will see that, okay, I will definitely do the fraud. Want to teach a lesson. In that manner also they can change their attitude. Proper recognition of work and achievements. After that, he has not been given the proper promotion. And if he has been made as scapegoat, sometimes a lot of people, they have been made as scapegoats. So these also force the person to commit the fraud. And lack of reward and punishment. Say sometimes he would have met the target. That also will create the fraud. Then lack of motivation, moral building, change in moral values. That is just to mistrust. And this Shankar, I want to give one thing. Suppose if you have received any phone call from unknown numbers, please attend, because that may be a bank audit call. Because few chartered accountants only they have received the appointment. Still, a lot of people they have to receive the appointment. Now the banks they started to alert the audit, because I have received an unknown call, call from unknown number. So I try to attend, because I have not been allotted any audit so far, but I hope I will get it just like you. And if you receive any unknown calls from any unknown number also, please do attend, because you should not leave your mobile till you get the audit, or up to 31/3/2021. Then dominance of only I, me, self-concept, that is priority of personal preferences over the organizational objectives, goals, thus lacking them spirit. Non-adherence of stability policy, thus only a flexibility prevail, that is personalized policies dominate the functioning of means. So everything depends on me. Whatever I do, no one is able to find the fraud. So that's personal domination. And no one knows anything. I only know everything. So that also will definitely make that person to create the fraud. That inconsistency in decision making, thinking process and implementation and the enforcement of various rules and regulations and improper two-way communication in the organization. All these are all psychological factors that lead to the fraud. Next one is what's the general behavior of this staff? So this you have to observe during the audit. He always tries to oblige the employees and is generally highly cooperative. Suppose a senior person just like me, we don't know anything about the computer, but the youngsters, they knew everything about the computer. So he always obliged, sir, can you do this? Yes, sir, I'll do it. So because more dependence of a particular staff by the other staff, also there is a chance to do fraud. So he tries to oblige the employees and is generally highly cooperative. And the role of ex-employees, normally the ex-employee after retirement, some employees, they have been asked to work on the outsourcing basis. Those employees have got no responsibility. So the branch, wherever you are going for audit, you have to ask whether any work is being allotted to the ex-employees. Please ask. If that is there, you have to see all those transactions which have been taken care of by that ex-employees. Then point number 3, he will be quite popular among the staff member. He is always commanding, he is always leading the team. So these also another general behavior. If you have been given a lot of importance, then if anyone say that yes, he has been given a lot of importance, so he will do anything, whatever he did, it is always correct. If that mentality is among the staff, then there also there will be chance for fraud. Then point number 4, always trying to perform the job without others' involvement. In certain circumstances, always a selected group of persons come forward to discharge the work. We can say the designated group of persons involved every time within different forums and functional group. Overall groups remain the same. Thus, these persons manage access to different important groups and other important assessment. It is nothing but he is quite popular. Whatever he did, not normally internal control system with reference to this employee is not effective. So a certain group of people, normally, if anything, any group of people they want to done at the branch, they will always contact this person only. So whatever he do, even sometimes they say that, sir, we will give you a standing instruction, kindly transfer the amount to someone. So he can include even his account number also. These staff, this group, they believed on him. So group, if any particular group, they came there and to the branch, they will do the fraud through him also. Sometimes that staff, based on the belief that he has created among the group, he can also do the fraud. And he will always tries to trust. He always tries to win the trust of other person. That means whatever he did is correct. That is also another general behavior. And next one is tries to get information, always keen to get official information related to the seats and departments. He is the person, whatever information that comes to the branch, only the branch manager knew everything. Only he is the responsible person. He has to convey everything to the staff, everything to the firm. But this person, he said, whatever it comes in the mail, he is the first person to read the mail because the mail has got the access. The staff can also go and read all the mails. So he can take a lot of information. Some staff, they are not interested. So with that he will play with that loophole. So he always tries to get all the information. they're generally not interested in charge, rotation of job and seats. So the RBI has clearly said every month, once in 6 months, all the staff they have to put into rotation. Suppose in case of branch manager, they will be subject to rotation transfer for once in 3 years or 2 years. It depends on the bank's policy. But with reference to staff who have been employed inside the branch, they have to put on the rotation. So this you have to ask from the manager. So what about the job rotation? Kindly give you a statement for the period from 1/4/20 to 31/3/21. If any staff is permanently working for a period of more than 1 year, and if he has not been rotated within 6 months, that point don't comment that he has not been rotated, but this staff has worked at the same seat for more than 6 months. In that manner, you have to give the report. Sometimes the clerk has to become cashier, cashier has to become clerk. Even among the advance officer also, there will be some among the advance officer also scale. This advance officer can be shifted to deposit, and deposit officer also can be shifted to loans. In this manner, you have to see. But as a chartered accountant, we have to see is there any job rotation done at the branch level or not. Then he always comes early and sit late or goes late. Whoever comes to the branch, before coming to the branch, he will come early and he will do the he will leave the branch very late. That means whatever he did is being noticed by the other staff. Then unreasonable postponement of activities. Whatever you ask, he will postpone this thing. Okay, now I am not ready. I'll do it later on a later part. In that manner also, they will do the commitment. So these are the general behavior that staff is doing. Rajendran, whether audio is clear or not, Rajendran? You said audio is not clear. Now, you are.
It is very often breaking, sir.
Sir, that is due to network. So
Yes, sir. Audio and video also very often breaking, sir.
Okay, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, tell me, Rajan, sir.
Audio and video is very often breaking, sir. It's not clear, sir.
Okay. I can't say this. Okay, everyone switch off their video. Okay, Alexa said everyone switch off those videos. Okay, it's up to you because okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Because sometimes it may be a problem at your end, and if it is problem for everyone, I have to switch off and restart the program. Okay, and where you will get the fraud? By way of complaint, by way of job. Suppose if anyone has complained that I have not received this amount, I have not received this information, there also you can find the fraud situation. So for this you have to go and verify the complaint register. If there is any complaint register, please refer the complaint register and go through who all made the complaint against the branch. Then second one is change in job rotation. This I have already discussed. And updating of housekeeping. That is, they are keeping the vouchers not to be posted into the account, or they have not even stitched the vouchers. Suppose if anything has gone wrong, if anything has been missed out, then that will be a problem for you for the branch on a later part. And balancing of books of accounts. Now it is not possible because balancing of books of accounts have been taken care of by the software, but you can see the reconciliation work. Suppose head office say that the branch has to pay 2 crores, but if the branch say that there is a head office due to the head office is only 1.5 crores, then you can analyze the difference. Why there is a difference? And another thing is by audit and inspection. By audit and inspection, you can do it. Audit and inspection, that is also a chance to find the fraud. And visits of regional office and zonal office, sudden surprise from the regional office, sudden surprise from the zonal office also, there will be some chance for finding the fraud. That scrutiny of control returns, then presence of mind of the alert and efficient. Sometimes the staff, he will find the fraud. Suppose if anyone has given the fabricated checks or even fabricated invoices or some counterfeit notes, this person, they will find the fraud. So these are the way in which the fraud is being identified, and they can proceed with the fraudulent activities. Next one is, what is the auditor duty? This is very, very important, because this year you have to concentrate on this, because still after this I'm going for the regular portion, and these are the basic things wherein you can easily identify the fraud. Don't take things and facts at face value. Whatever you see, don't believe. So you have to see the transactions on a suspicious mode. Whether this voucher is correct or not, then don't trust others at all time. So whatever they say, you can hear, but you have to take our own decision, and don't believe your eyes. Sometimes they will give some report. So you have to see, okay, I'm reading the report, that report may be correct, but you have to see whether that report is genuine or not. So that for this, I've got a separate case on a later part. Even right now also I can see, I've said in the meeting that the fax message produced by the manager to the auditor, the mail that has been received from the regional office, that has been produced to the chartered accountant during the audit, you have to see the genuineness of the fax, genuineness of the mail. Whether the fax is a genuine or not, that you have to see. So you have to read the message, whether that message is genuine or not. So that's why I said, don't believe your eyes, and be very analytical and investigate. So you say this portion I'm going to present from the fraudulent angle. So be very analytical and investigative, and don't consider the person guilty unless it is proved beyond doubt. Unless it is proved beyond doubt, don't make a complaint that he is a fraudulent person. You have to prove it. Otherwise, you will be in danger. So do all acts with the authority and with due diligence, bona fide and without bias. So I believe the manager and not anyone. Don't do it. Without bias, you are not supposed to audit. You have to do it thinking that everyone is doing the fraud, if any. So you have to do the audit. That I never meant that the entire branch is a fraudulent activities. But when you do the audit, you have to do with suspicion. And if anything goes wrong, then you will be in trouble. Suppose everything is normal, okay. If there is any diversion, any modification, that also you have to do it carefully. Then do such acts which further distinction between bona fide and mala fide intention. So you have to verify the banking accounts in the intention, whether the intention carried out by the branch staff are correct or not. Then always come to the final conclusion after taking into cognizance the totality of the facts and circumstances, and don't do the audit on piecemeal approach. Today you have verified one thing, tomorrow you have verified something, some other day you have verified something. Then don't do it. If you identify that that's a fraudulent transaction, you have to do it at a stretch. Don't do it on the piecemeal approach. This is the way in which you have to perform your duty as auditor. Even I want to say one thing, auditors are not safe inside the branch. Auditors are not safe inside the branch when they detect the fraud. You have to come out of the branch and you have to report that from your office if you find out any fraud, because we are not safe inside the branch when we detect the fraud. Even I can say that I have received 2 times life-threatening in my entire career. Because I have detected fraud. I managed it, but I reported, and everyone has dismissed from service. All those persons who have threatened me, and everyone has been dismissed, because you have to be very, very safe while doing the audit. Next one is, what are the major fraud-prone area? Deposits, advances, remittances, bills, LG, LC, cash, clearing, foreign exchange, computer operations, security items, stationery, miscellaneous, and general. All are balance sheet items. So entire balance sheet is liable to be coming under the fraud prone area. So you have to verify everything correctly. These are all major fraud prone area. This is not required. And what RBI said, the definition on fraud. This is the RBI definition on fraud: a deliberate act of omission or commissioning by any person carried out in the course of banking transaction. So only in the course of banking transaction, if there is any omission or commission, the books of accounts maintained manually or under computerized environment. In the books of account maintained manually or under computerized system in the banks, resulting in wrongful gain to any person for a temporary period, or otherwise it's a permanent gain or for a temporary period, and with or without monetary loss to the bank. So this is what RBI said about the definition on fraud. Even when I visited a police station, the police inspector said, "Sir, we will not disturb you till you disturb us." This is the stand that has been taken by the police officials. One. And I asked him, "Sir, you have caught hold of one thief. He has returned all the theft jewelry. Can you leave him?" So for general interest, I asked. This has happened some 15 years back. They say that once theft is being carried out by any person, he is a thief, whether he has reimbursed the money or not. So in case of bank fraud, it has been done without or without monetary loss. If it is done without monetary loss, they say that you have to see the intention of the staff. The intention is to defraud at any cost, then he will be called as a fraudulent person. Suppose in case of monetary loss, if the staff has returned the amount, to the bank, that doesn't mean that he has not committed fraud. So I still remember there is observation, or even they have given the opinion about the theft. Theft is theft, whether you have reimbursed or not, whether they have returned the theft items or not. Theft is theft. Just like that, fraud is fraud, whether the amount has been reimbursed or returned by the person who has committed fraud to the bank. So this point you have to bear in mind. And RBI had issued a master circular on classification of reporting. Should we check the reports sent by them for compliance and that the branch had reported? Yes, sir. Sir, whatever RBI said till 31/3/2021, you please go through it before commencement of our audit. Even after commencement audit also, you are answerable, you are liable to receive a lot of clarification from RBI. Even I can raise one question which the class which I have taken yesterday. The NPA identification, that is NPA that has fallen between the moratorium period, whether we have to shift the NPA due to 19 or from there to some other day. So still we have to receive the communication from the RBI. Anyhow, please be thorough with the RBI circular. That's why I said, please go and see the RBI circular that has been issued during this month. Please go through it. So it will definitely help you in doing the audit. One. And second thing, you have been asked to verify the closing circulars issued by the banks to the branches. Please ask and see the closing circulars that has been issued by the head office to the branches, because wherein you will get a lot of information. All these things will definitely lead you to do the audit in the right direction. And thanks for the Ganapati sir, thanks for your information. And what are the RBI classifications with reference to fraud? The RBI said the frauds are in the form of advances. In the deposit area also, there will be a fraud, and service related frauds. All these are related frauds. What are the types of frauds? The fraud is in banks and fraud on banks. And this portion I will come later, because these are all the practical experiences. I'll go how the fraud has to be reported, because you are going there to the audit. How the frauds, you have to, in what manner you have to report the fraud, and who has to take care of the fraud. This is what you have to see. And Ganapati sir already said this you have to see. Then after this, I'll go for some 5 or 6 practical cases. Then after that, I'll wind up the session. Circulars on frauds issued by RBI. Go to the site. Otherwise, I'll download the master circular and send to you in PDF format tomorrow. Master circular on RBI. This I will download it. Yeah, I got copy, but I will download to you and send to your mail on request. Then it controls all the scheduled and commercial banks, not only scheduled commercial banks, even all the private sector banks are also being controlled. And in this, in the RBI circular, they said directions have been issued to bank to work on the proper framework. Within this framework only you are supposed to work. They said RBI is issued to bank. The bank in turn, they have to issue to the branch. So they have sent the report to the bank. And reporting of frauds immediately on redaction. Further, there's a prescribed stage to whom we have to report. That also we'll discuss. And they say that what is the staff accountability to the fraud and do effective fraud risk management. Sir, can you send the presentation on email? I missed slides due to poor video quality. Sir, please go to YouTube. Ravindran V is the channel name. You go to YouTube. I have uploaded everything. Everything is correct. Everything is being visible. It's being seen by most of the members. Go to YouTube, Ganapati sir. Sorry, Sharmi Shah, and please go to YouTube. You will get everything. Then do effective fraud risk management. They say that that's a separate department to identify the fraud. So it's being coming under the audit committee. The audit committee, they have to form a separate investigation team. They have to do the management. And what are the preventive measures? What are the preventive measures? That is that. What are the preventive measures? What are the steps that head office has to take to avoid the fraud? That also has been clearly mentioned in the master circulars. Then what are the internal checks? What are the internal checks that have been available to check the fraud? And next one is reporting and others, slide 2, fraud prevention and management function. This is also the instruction given by RBI to the bank. The bank has to, this has to be done by the chairman, managing director, CEO of the bank. First, they are the top. And investigation of fraud cases and prompt accurate reporting to the appropriate regulatory authority and law enforcing authorities, including RBI. The branch has to report whom, the regional office has to report whom, whether the bank, they have to report or they have to take the decision among themselves, or otherwise whether they have to convey this message to the RBI or not. Everything should be governed as a function by the fraud prevention and management function committee. Then a board approval is required to frame internal policy on fraud. So this is the information I want to say, that say in what manner you have to cover the fraud, to whom you have to report the fraud. Even I can say you can form one thing, one husband and 5 wives is your life. Just you remember this. One husband and 5 wives is your life. If you remember this, the board approval policy or anything in the fraud, you can do it. Even in the audit also, you can remember this: one husband and 5 wives. This is nothing but how, what, when, where, why, whom. How to detect the fraud, what to do, how, what, when, why, how, what, when, why, where, whom. If you remember this, then you can frame any policy. Even you can frame your audit program. Even you can lead your life correctly. So you have to remember one husband and 5 wives. So based on that, the board will form an internal policy. And fraud risk management is being looked after by bank CEO. Bank CEO, that is MD is the head, and it's being controlled by audit committee of the board and special committee of the board. These 3 boards, they are taking care of fraud risk management. Why I am taking this? This is not a, though it is a theoretical, but these fraud things, fraud management thing that you should know. As a chartered accountant, if anyone comes to you and asks any question, you have to be in a position to answer it. So fraud uniformity reporting is being classified mainly on the provisions of IPC, Indian Penal Code. Misappropriation, criminal breach of trust. This is one. Fraudulent encashment through forged instruments. These are the way in which they have always said these are the straight frauds that you can identify, because all this lead to IPC provisions, Indian Penal Code, that these frauds will definitely be affected or governed or controlled by IPC. Misappropriation payment branch, fraudulent encashment through forged instruments, manipulation of books of account through fictitious accounts, and conversion of property, unauthorized credit facilities extended for reward or illegal gratification. That means receiving bribe if anyone has sanctioned the loan, then cash shortages, then cheating and forgery, fraudulent transactions. They simply use one thing, fraudulent transactions. That includes everything, which we have discussed, which I have discussed, from misappropriation to cash shortage, everything, even cheating, everything is being included in the fraudulent transaction. They said including foreign exchange. So they say that both domestic trade as well as import and export trade, that is everything is being covered by the fraudulent activity. Any other fraud not coming under specific gets as they say that overall, if it is not coming under, then this is also coming to be treated as fraud. Next point we have to see is RBI class. This is what we require. This is what we have to concentrate. Shortage of RBI specific classification is shortage more than 10,000 including ATM. Shortage 5,000, more than 5,000 deducted by the auditor, you, management, inspection officer, and not reported on the day of occurrence by the person handling cash. So that means indirectly they say that on inquiry, on finding, if there was a cash shortage of more than 5,000, that you have to report to whom? You have been appointed by the head office. So you have to report to the head office. If the manager, if he has found, he has to report to the controlling authority. The inspection officer, he has to report to the inspection department on daily basis or on the day on which you have found the fraud. Then another registry is CFR, that is Central Fraud Registry. It is based on the fraud monitoring returns accessible to all banks. Banks can use their ID card and password to look into CFR. CFR is a web-based one. So one bank can view or see the other bank's fraud monitoring returns. So this is available to the bank only. It is not available to the public. So the banks, they can view other banks' CFR also. They can come to any conclusion. Next one is reporting of fraud to RBI. This is where slowly I'm just giving information. Every bank has to send fraud FMR on databases on the fraud reporting system and monitoring system. And to submit FMR, it has to be signed or to be looked after by whom? Not below the rank of general manager. Means the fraud monitoring report has to be looked after by the persons not below the rank of GM. So more than GM, say even board also can do it. More than GM, CGM, they can also responsible who is to monitor this FMAR, fraud monitoring report. And they say that there are 3 types of FMAR. Report on actual and suspected frauds to be submitted within 3 months of deduction, within 1 week if the deduction is more than 1 crore. So in FMAR 1, they have to report, and FMAR 2 is a quarterly report on frauds. One is every month or within 3 weeks you have to report, and quarterly report on frauds outstanding to be submitted within 15 days. So every quarter also you have to submit, and in FMAR 3, quarterly progress report on frauds to be submitted within 15 days of the quarter. So FMAR 2 and 3, it has to be submitted on quarterly basis, and monthly certificate of fraud to be submitted to RBI within 7 days of the next month. And their bank, they have to say that there is a fraud or there is no fraud. So every month they have to submit this fraud reports. This is not available at the branch. This has to be taken care of by the central statutory auditors. It is not available at the branch level, but you have to see whether the branch has reported the fraud on monthly basis or not. Next one is reporting others. That is point number 6. Fraud reports to be submitted in cases where the Central Investigation Agency have initiated criminal proceedings suo motu or where the RBI has directed that such cases to be reported as. So they can do it on own or based on the direction given by the bank. I can say here one thing. In one of the cases, one fellow in my area, what he did, he in collision with the branch manager, he has done a lot of fraud. That is, the fraud has exceeded more than 25 crores. The regional office, they have suspended the manager because of this reason. But the person who was colluded with the manager has got influence with some top authorities from the government. They made the he made the suspension to be cancelled. So that manner also public they can play. One. Second thing, on hearing this, on hearing that they have received a lot of pressure from the higher authorities, what this regional manager he did, he has referred the matter to CBI. So you cannot go and interfere into this case because the RM has got the power that he can refer the cases to CBI as the fraud has exceeded 1 crore. Lot of inquiries have been carried out and all the staff, everyone is answerable. So if that is the case, you have to ask as a statutory auditor or content auditor, is there any fraud that has taken place? Whether these cases have been referred to CBI also, that you have to verify. Second one is bank other than the foreign banks. So other than the banks having overseas operation on offices report all frauds to RBI. So other than the foreign banks, so that means foreign banks, they need not report to RBI. So banks other than the foreign banks and having overseas branches, that is in foreign country, they have to report to the fraud to the RBI. Then flash report on fraud, that is 5 crore and above within 1 week if it comes to the knowledge of the bank's head office. That means within they say that if the fraud amount exceeds 5 crore and above, then the head office they have to inform RBI within 1 week. Within 1 week, this is a time limit they are given to the banks. Within 1 week, they have to report to RBI. When it comes to the knowledge of the bank, that to the extent is the fraud has exceeded 5 crore and above. And fraud report have to be submitted in detail to RBI, Reserve Bank of India, Central Office Mumbai, Reserve Bank of India, Central Fraud Monitoring Cell, Bangalore. For these things, the fraud reports have to be sent. See, in your appointment letter, kindly go and see in your appointment letter to whom you have to report the fraud. Kindly go through it and based on that only you have to report. Suppose if I have been asked to report only to bank, then it's your responsibility. They say that, but RBI has clearly said that if the fraud has exceeded, I think in one bank I have read, if the fraud has exceeded 1 crore, then you can directly submit the report to RBI also. So kindly go and read your appointment letter and where you have to report the fraud. The thing is report of fraud to the areas, to the board to whom you have to report. All frauds exceeding 1 lakh and above, you have to report to the fraud. Report to cover the failure on the part of the concerned branch manager to the controlling authorities and give details of action initiated against the responsible fraud and modus operandi of the fraud to be discussed. So that in the reporting format also, the branch or the controlling authorities, they have to discuss the modus operandi of the fraud and they have to report this to the board. And where to report, that is with reference to special committee of the board, audit committee board, ACB, shall monitor all the frauds in general. So this point you have to remember, ACB, they are looking after the fraud to be monitored and to monitor frauds of 1 crore or more, to monitor frauds of 1 crore or more to the special committee and they have to monitor, and audit committee board, CEO and MD are 2 members of ACB and 2 members of board, excluding RBI nominee, are the members of the special committee board. But you need not report to RBI in case of attempted fraud. They say that it is not a confirmed fraud and it is only an attempted fraud, but this fraud has to be reported to our board. So this is the way in which you have to report. And this chart, please see. That is reporting to police, private sector banks and foreign banks. Where to report and If the fraud amount is 10,000 above, you have to, in case of staff involvement of 10,000 and above, you can refer to, that is bank or branch, they can make a complaint with the state police. And if the 1 lakh and above, that is with the outsiders. Here, for the staff, if the involvement is 10,000 or more, you can report to the police. The outsider involvement is more than 1 lakh and more, they have to report to state police. If the fraud is 1 crore and above, it has to be reported to state police. There is a special serious fraud investigation office and plus MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Details of fraud are to be reported to SFIO in FMR. So in this manner, you are to report. This is a kind of information I want to share in this case, and I'll go with the case study in 2 minutes. And reporting to police by or CBI by public sector banks. Previously, so far we have seen only the private sector banks and the foreign banks. And here, with reference to the complaint made to police or CBI, 10,000 and above, but below 1 lakh. If the staff is involved, you have to report to state police. 1 lakh and above, but below 3 crores, you have to inform to state CID and the economic offence wing of the state, and it has to be lodged by regional head. Regional head, they have to inform to the bank. 3 crore and above and up to 25 crores, they have to inform the CBI. In my case, the fraud is around 25 crores, so they have informed CBI. To be lodged with anti-corruption branch of the CBI, where you have to make the complaint. Anti-corruption wing, where the staff involvement is prima facie evident, economic offence wing of CBI, there you are to involve. They say that when the staff is involved, you have to inform to the anti-corruption wing. And if the fraud is more than 25 crores and up to 50 crores, it has to be informed to CBI. See, you can easily identify the fraud is if the fraud is 3 crore and above, you have to inform CBI. And the persons who are to file the complaint, that also we have seen in this presentation. Sir, your presentation is precise and very informative. I request you to share this presentation with the participants. This will prove to be very hand reference. And because thank you so much. I will record this. I think now I have put the recording. If it is available, then definitely I will upload this in the YouTube. You can view everything there. And report in general, the fraud cases below 10,000, branch official, they have to report, branch manager to report to regional office, and they have to decide to proceed further whether we have to go to the police or not. So the branch, if the fraud is cases below 10,000, they have to report to regional office. Regional office, they have to consider whether we have to proceed further or not. Then RBI guidelines on NPA, scrutinize the accounts where the NPA is more than 15. They say that it's a clear instruction given by RBI. And one account is NPA, and the total amount is NPA amount is more than 50 crores. So you have to report, you have to scrutinize each and everything. Even though that account is NPA, you have to see that NPA account from the fraudulent angle. This is the instruction given by the RBI. Please send us your YouTube link as and when it is available, sir. Definitely I'll share, sir. Otherwise, I think tomorrow or day after tomorrow, you can see this. And now I am going to practical case study. I will discuss with some 3 or 4 interesting cases. So you can take this as guidance for your. We can say you can take this as guidance for your practice. So I want to start from the 4 interesting cases in advances. I have given the deposit frauds, but I want to concentrate on the advances. 1. Okay, we will start with the deposits also. It's a matching deposit. What is matching deposit? I have put subsidy. What is matching deposit and subsidy? See, what is subsidy? First thing members should know. Can you share the PPT, Angel? sharing of PPT is not possible for me because this PPT is my thing which I have to present in all the meetings. So I'll share the recorded messages to you. Whatever I discuss, that you can see. And even it's very difficult to share the PPT also because that contains a lot of what's that, internal matters also on there in the PPT. Okay, I will just concentrate. Please concentrate on the presentation. What is subsidy? I want to say there are two kinds of subsidy because the subsidy is a gray area wherein everyone can do fraud. I'll tell how. Because this is going to be very, very practical. Wherever you are going for audit, in all the branches, all the banks, they have got subsidy because subsidies have been received from the government to be given to the, most backward class persons, to be given to scheduled caste, scheduled tribes. But bankers, some few borrowers, they are manipulating the subsidy so that they can square the subsidy. They are trying to cheat the state government, and even the bankers, they are also party to the agreement. So now I'll tell what is matching deposit, what is subsidy. This you can find in each and every branch. I can vouch because based on my audit experience of more than 270 branches, I have in almost 225, 228 branches, I have found out this mistake of manipulation of subsidy. First, let me start with the subsidy. In subsidy, there are two kinds of subsidy. One is front-end subsidy, or second one is back-end subsidy. Front-end subsidy has to be adjusted immediately on this receipt from the sponsoring agency. If it has been sponsored by TOTCO, then immediately you can transfer this fund to the loan account. You can adjust this to the loan account. Back-end subsidy means this back-end subsidy has to be adjusted only after the lock-in period or after the loan sanction period, whichever comes earlier. So what is lock-in period? In case of subsidy, in the sanction letter, in subsidy, there is a sanction letter. Please go and verify the sanction letter, whether it's a front-end subsidy or back-end subsidy. In the back-end subsidy, if the lock-in period is 3 years, that subsidy should not be transferred from the subsidy account to the loan account. That is lock-in period. If there is no mention of lock-in period, then the subsidy has to be adjusted only after the duration of the loan. Only after the duration of the loan. Let us take the duration is 5 years. This duration, only after the duration of this loan, you can adjust it. You can adjust it. This is called as back-end subsidy. In case the manager, to avoid NPA, this is what I want to suggest in the back-end subsidy, to avoid NPA, because I already said the genuine credit you have to see. So they close the subsidy and credit to the account. So if during the lock-in period, if any subsidy is closed and adjusted to any loan account to avoid NPA, you have to pass MOC because subsidy transfer from alive to the loan account is not permitted. This is with the reference to subsidy. In the subsidy is being transferred and adjusted, the subsidy is adjusted between 3rd year and 4th year. Then the party is eligible to get only 50% of the subsidy, remaining 50% they have to return. The subsidy is adjusted between the 4th year and 5th year, only the 75% the party is eligible to get the subsidy adjustment. 100% subsidy is possible only after the closure of the loan. But this adjustment percentage is according to the sanction letter given by the sponsoring government. What the government says, this is the amount, then you have to adjust only according to that circular. This is called as subsidy. Subsidy is a concession or amount given by the state government to the benefit of most backward persons or to the benefit of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Or even sometimes to promote the business, the state government, even in the PMAGB, that is Prime Minister Employment Generation Program also, the government is giving subsidy to the people as a capital, but this subsidy has to be adjusted only after the closure of the loan. So you have to see the terms and conditions. This is called as subsidy. Now I am going for matching deposit. What is matching deposit? I have put only one word, matching deposit, hyphen subsidy. Subsidy I have explained. What is matching deposit? See, the bankers, they want to play the game very safely. They say that, sir, you want loan of 1 lakh. Okay, I'm ready to sanction. Subsidy is, what is the subsidy amount? It is 50,000. Okay. So bankers now, they have to give 50,000 rupees as loan. This manager, he does not want to take risk. What he will do, sir, you please deposit 52,000 rupees or 53,000 rupees or 51,000 rupees in the savings bank account. Then party has remitted 51,000 rupees. Subsidy has come 50 lakhs, 50,000. So the total amount is 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1,000. What is the loan amount? 1 lakh. So if this type of activities have taken place, that is called as, that is investment of, that is remittance of 51,000 rupees is called as the matching deposit. This is called as matching deposit. So in one of my cases, what has happened, the manager, he has sanctioned this type of loan, and after some time, after 2 days, 3 days, after sanction of the loan, the manager, he has transferred the amount from subsidy, he has transferred the amount from SB account, and he has given credit to the loan account. Thereby it has closed. So it is a fraudulent action. It's an action taken by the, it's a wrong thing done by the manager. Okay, this is called as fraudulent action. So you have to see the loans opened during the year, loans closed during the year. See, open during the year and loans closed during the year, you have to see. I have reported a fraud of something around 27 accounts, and a lot of discussion have taken place. My suggestion is, if the manager is a party to square the government funds, he is a party to square the government funds. So it is called as a fraud. So matching deposit. Other things, okay. And I'm going to the advances. In advances, I will discuss some 3 or 4 interesting cases. Then after that, I will wind up the session. One is, I'm going to see one case. I've been allotted as inspection auditor. Previously, the inspection work is given to the chartered accountant. I have been allotted as inspection auditor. I have gone for audit. As the inspection official, I have to go and verify all the units. All the units I have to go and verify. And verified. I have found that the unit is functioning, EB bill is correct. So I said, okay, I have got very much confident in that unit. That borrower name is Bhuvar Arasam. He has availed the loan by giving his partition deed, family partition deed to him, to the bank. That is a family partition deed in his original name he has given. After some time, I have been allotted revenue audit of another branch, another bank. I went there, then on scrutiny, I have found out that the same Bhuvar Arasami of Yetapur, that Yetapur is the village, the same Bhuvar Arasami of Yetapur, he come to the branch and he has availed the loan. And on seeing the name, I asked the manager, sir, can you give the documents? Then he has produced the document. Then I have seen that the document which he has given as security, collateral security to the unit, belong to his brother, but the charge is created only against the Bhuvar Arasami's property, because in partition deed there are some 4 documents, because 1 is original and 3 is for the other persons. So 1 is original, this is belong to this property is belong to someone, some bank, and the second one is being given to this branch. And I asked the manager, sir, can we go and do inspection? The manager said, sir, inspection is not needed because you are coming here to the revenue audit. I said, though it's a revenue audit, I want to see this, and I explained all modus operandi. Then he took me to the unit. On seeing me that Bhuvar Arasami ran away, then he came to know that I know all the transactions. Then I have taken this manager to the previous inspection branch. Then both the managers discussed, and both the managers, they recalled because that double financing, it's a fraudulent action. Then I went for another stock audit of another bank. There also I found out the same person's name, Bhuvar Arasami. There I have found out that the same document, that is the document belonged to his second brother. And in another bank also, another bank also, he has obtained the loan. So the entire family partition deed has been given as security to the bank to avail the loan, but luckily all the loans have been availed by the elder brother Bhuvar Arasami. So my sincere advice is, if any loan is given to the borrowers based on the partition deed. Based on the partition deed, please verify whether the schedule, whether the document given to the bank belongs to that borrower or his brother's property. So this point you have to see. One. Second case, here is I want to tell you how to get loan from 5 banks based on only one document. How to get loan from the 5 banks based on the one document. This is a very, very interesting case. Even right now also it is possible. Right now also it is possible. No, even if I do this type of fraud, no one can found this. That's why wherever I go, I used to say that you should be a master of fraud. You should be a master of fraud, but you should not do fraud. You should be a master of fraud, but you should not do fraud. But you have to detect the frauds. Unless until you know the fraudulent technique, you will not be in a position to find the fraud. So here in my case, the father has availed loan from a bank. That is, say, with the mortgaging, survey number 57. He has availed a loan from a bank. Then after some time, what he did, the entire, say, let us take that survey number is 57. That survey number is 57 is being bifurcated into 4 as 1, 2, 3, 4. And the father has given the those 57 bar 1, 2, 3, 4 as security as well as a gifted property to their sons. As a gifted property to their sons, to his sons. Then I have gone for audit for the survey number 57 bar 2. On seeing the gift settlement, I came to know that what I asked immediately, what about the parent document? Say survey number 57. Then when I asked this to the borrower through the manager, that son, he came and told, sir, the document, original document is with his father. Then I asked at least I want to see the original document, sir. Kindly bring the original document to your father. In the gift settlement, there is one column, one sentence saying that since I am having some other property in my name, I have not handed over the original document to you. I have handed over only the Xerox copy or true copy or some certified copy to you as evidence that that property belonged to me. Okay. Here in this case, the person they say that, sir, the original document is not with my father. He has availed, he immediately accepted that his father has availed a loan from some other. Then I immediately asked the manager, sir, can you go and get the encumbrance certificate for survey number 57? If you apply for encumbrance certificate for survey number 57 bar 2, you will get only nil encumbrance. If you apply for survey number 57 as a whole, you will get the encumbrance from the bank where he has borrowed. So here, all the 4 sons, they have availed loan from 5 banks. 4 banks. So father from one bank and all the gift property in other 4 documents. So my sincere suggestion here is, if you happen to see any document which is in the form of gift settlement, you have to go and ask for the original document. If the original document is available along with the gift settlement, then it's okay. But if that is there you have to see the extent of the land. What is the extent they have gifted? This is another type of fraud. Then third one, loan against debt stock. Loan against debt stock. There also you can find there are a lot of problems in the loan against debt stock. So you have to see whether the stocks are good or bad. You have to see. So this is there will be chance for debt stock because it is available. It can be made by the borrower in the you can say key loans. The borrower say that, sir, I have got a stock amount of this. Can you sanction the loan? The manager, on seeing the loan, he said, okay, stocks are there. We will sanction the loan without security. If any key loan facilities are there, kindly go and do the inspection and see that those stocks are alive or dead. This point you have to see. And another one is the fourth one, that is sanction of loan by the field officer and receipt of loan by him. See here, normally what we are doing, whenever we are verifying the advance file, some files have not been produced by the field officer or by the manager. So if that is the case, you have to ask, sir, can you produce those files? The manager say that, no, sir, these files are, see, in one of the statute orders, when I asked this with the field officer, he said, no, sir, the files were with the manager. Manager, he was on leave. He is on leave. you please get these details after 2 days. But whatever I asked, I have taken note of that in my report. Okay. So if I, after completion of audit or even before completion of audit, we have to ask, sir, these details I have asked, you are not produced for me for those files for my verification. Since these files have not been produced for my verification, I totally disagree with the transaction, because if any fraud has taken place in that file, then you are also responsible. You don't give the claim report. So in my case, what I did, I asked the same after 2 days with the branch manager, and branch manager said that, sir, these files are not with me, everything is with the field officer. Then what has happened in the afternoon itself, the field officer has gone on leave, because I have to complete the audit, but the manager, the field officer, he has gone on leave. Then I asked the manager, sir, I want to see those files. Then the manager, what he cleverly did, he sent his sub staff to the house of that field officer, and he asked his wife over phone, your husband has taken some files for his verification. The same has to be produced to the auditors for the verification. Can you hand over the files and send the you? The wife, without knowing the seriousness, she simply hand over all the files. Then actually I asked some 7 files. The files which have been brought from the house of the field officer, it was around 16 files. So when I scrutinized this, then I found that all the loans have been sanctioned by the field officer. He himself has availed, and on inquiry with the borrower's name which have been found in the list, they say that this person, the manager, that is field officer, has given them some 1,000 rupees to sign the document, but the loan amount is around 1 lakh. So every money is being taken by the field officer. All those accounts have become NPA, because when they send the notice, they say that we have not availed anything. So this is a suggestion I want to give. If you ask any file, and if those files have not been given, then you have to make record of it in your audit report. Next one is sanction of government loan without verification evidence. Also in Tamil. I will say this, and after this I will wind up the session. Here is a government sponsored scheme. Now, government sponsored scheme, previously it is called as IRDP. All seniors, they know it. Integrated Rural Development Program, IRDP. Here I verified those accounts, and I found out that all those accounts have become bad. No repayment has come. One. Second thing, all these loans, government recommended loans, government sponsored loans have been sanctioned to a particular village. Say around 2,000, more than 2,200 loans have been given to a particular village. All those loans have become bad. Here I will share the evidence in my experience, and what are the things that you have to follow, that you follow. All those loans have become bad, and all around 2,200 loans have been sanctioned to a particular village. Then what I did immediately, I went to the panchayat, that village panchayat, and you have to ask for the census. See, normally the census has to be taken once in 10 years. Once in 10 years, the government is taking census. So I've gone for the year 2003 or something, 2004, I have gone for audit. So I have asked for the census for the year 2001. The panchayat people, they have given. So this is the total population of the village. You know the total population of the village, it is only 978 people. 978 people are there. But the loan to the particular village, they have given to the tune of 2,200 loans, more than 2,200. Then among 972, there are aged people, ladies, children, everyone we remove. Only some 132, 134 people are ready to go for employment. All those people, they have not gone for employment. Some people, they are doing business also. The loan is sanctioned for the purpose of buying the musical instruments, just like you can say clarinet, just like that in Tamil it is called as Nadaswaram, and Tamil, this is the way in which they play the instrument. For that, they just given the loan, and also that that one instrument that I don't know the name in English. In Tamil it is called as Jalra. So loan is given towards purchase of Nadaswaram, Tawal, and Jalra. So I asked only one question to the branch manager, present branch manager. Sir, if you blow entire Northeastern, Tamil and Jalra at a time, because the loan has been sanctioned to more than 2,200 people. If it is blown, then the entire village will blow. So on lighter sense, I said this, then actually I have covered that point in the fraud report. And when I hand over the report to the manager, because as per the instruction, after completion of the audit, then all the charter accountants, they have to hand over the report to the regional office. Normally in regional office, these reports have to be received by some staff. And one of the staff, you knew that I have gone for the audit. Ravindran has gone for the audit. And they used to call me as when I can proudly say that most of the, that bank employees, they used to call me as the terrorist of the bank. He is coming. So because if there is any fraud, I will not leave, because I've created a lot of, I used to give a lot of irregularities. Even my report go beyond more than 70, 75 pages in the 3 days. So I request even the members, please do the work properly. You will be recognized anywhere. So here I have handed over the report to the regional office. The person who has received the report from me is called as Ganapati. His name is Ganapati. Sorry, sir, you are here in some. I'm not mentioning you. The person of regional office, Subramanian Ganapati, sir, here. Don't mistake me. And I have handed over the report to the Mr. Ganapati, and that Ganapati immediately turned my report, and I have reported the transaction under fraud. He immediately started to argue. No, you have no right to report the fraud. See, this is the manner in which you have to see. If anyone objects to your working, and if anyone comments against your report, that means something is fishy. This is my experience. If they object to your working, and if they are not ready to give it, then definitely there will be 100%, not 100%, 500 fraud is there. He said that you are not supposed to report. You had no right. So whenever anyone says, if anyone comes and disturbs you, and if anyone pinpoints a mistake at you, and if anyone is not cooperating, then there will be chance for order. Here, this fellow has said like that. Then we had some argument. I said, sir, your role is to receive the report as post office. As per the instruction given by the head office, I have given the report to you. Then immediately he started to argue. In spite of my repeated request, he never yielded to my request. He said, you have to remove it, because that is a starting point. If I remove it, nothing will be known to everyone, because this has happened some 3 years, 4 years back. But when I go for this year, I have covered that point in my report, saying that the closing balance of that account comes in here, in my audit period. Then after that, the DGM, that is the region head, he came out of this call, because we had some heated discussion. I said, I will never remove my report. I will never remove my comments in my fraudulent head. I will not remove it. Then DGM he came. Then he asked me, what, Ravindran, what are you doing? Why you are shouting like this? No, sir, I am not shouting. Your officer is shouting. Ganapati sir is shouting. You just inquire. Then he called him, and then what has happened? No, sir, this auditor, he said bold and out of what's that, fear or shivering hands. He said, sir, this auditor is giving fraud report against that branch. Then he asked, why? It is right, he can give. No, sir, it is not a fraud. Then okay, bring the report. Then he took the report inside his cabin, and he has gone through. Then he asked one thing: who was the officer who has sanctioned the loan? Then he said, the same Ganapati who has subjected to my working, he has sanctioned the loan. Then he sent the Ganapati out, and he asked what are the data. Then I have given all the evidences to him. Okay. Then immediately on the spot, he has suspended Mr. Ganapati. Then now I came to know that after some time, it was he was being dismissed from service. So my sincere advice here is, if anyone has objected to your working, and if anyone has said that you have got no right, and if anyone say that your work, if anyone disturbs your audit, all these things will definitely lead to the fraud areas. So even if anyone has got any experience, you can put it in the put it in my mailbox so that I can forward this to all the members. One, and I want to say even what is the major fraud that I have found out in my area. It has cost more than 100 crores. It has cost more than 100 crores. That was a major fraud that I have found out in my experience. That I will cover in detail. That is also there in the YouTube, which I've already released. It is that. But the major fraud so far I have found out in my area is 100 crores. And another advice is, if you did, even I have got life threatening in that case also, because cheating the public done by, it's being directly done by the branch manager along with the one panel person. They've done the all type of mistakes, all type of manipulations and everything. When I reported this, they started to threaten me. Okay, I said, okay, I faced it. But my facing of those culprits, that is entirely different. But to sum up, what I want to say is, if you detect any fraud, don't report the fraud, don't discuss the fraud, and don't report the fraud from the inside of the branch. You have to come out and report from the house. One. Second thing, and if anyone objects to your working, then definitely there will be fraud. This I can vouch, 100% I can vouch. One. Even someone, they can come and say, sir, you don't know anything, sir. If they say like that, okay, sir, I don't know anything. You go and do your thing. So in this manner, you are doing. And third one is, you should know all banks rules and regulations. Everything you have to do the audit as per the sanction letter. And whether the reporting, whether if there is any violation of the regular procedures, that also you have to do the reporting. In this manner, you have to do the audit. I've got lot of fraud area. One is there is in cash also there will be a fraud. In other areas, that is token also you can do fraud. And you have to please see the subsidy return of register. There also you will find a lot of frauds. You have to see subsidy return of register also. So with this, for want of checks, and for want of time, and just closing the session. And I'm very, very happy that today we have reached some 53 people. They have participated in this session. I'm very, very happy. Within short time you have covered, you have come. And I think today is Thursday. Saturday, I will try to present the paper on non-performing asset. I used to say that it is 0 to 100. 0 to 100 means from the scrap I am going to start. For seniors, it may be a revision. For juniors, freshers, it will be a lesson. So almost in 1.5 hours or 2 hours, to the maximum extent, I'll explain all the important provisions of non-performing asset. Tomorrow I'll announce the time and date, and whoever wants to participate. And also I request to the fellow members, kindly spread the message to your friends, because NPA is the main area of working in the bank audit. So if they want to learn, they can come and join the program. Everything is, I said, it's already been free, and you are requested to participate in that meeting also. I'm just signing up. I'm just closing the session. If there is any doubt, with reference to fraud also, you can put it here. Otherwise, if you find no time, we put it in the my mail ID also. I can share that. Congrats, Ganapati sir said, congrats for interesting presentation with the full information. Sir, this fraudulent section, I require minimum of 6 hours. Minimum of 6 hours. Because in my life, I have found out more than 100 frauds. In my life, I have found out more than 100 frauds. So, for one at a time, just closing. But the fraud requires minimum of say 6 hours, I can say. But interesting cases I have discussed. What are the basic things I have discussed? And one request to the fellow members: don't take the audit very lightly. For this, I want to close the session by saying, be ensured that you are going to have your certificate of practice in next year. Because if you fail to detect the fraud, then you will be in danger. And be sincere to the audit, and don't take the audit lightly. And the auditor definition is changed in fraud. Don't be a watchdog, but be a bloodhound. if you detect the fraud. Nandi Vanakkam. And if you got any doubt, please put it in the chat box. As for hitting century, huh? Oh, sorry. Kumarasamy, yeah. But to get 100 in the audit career, you have to put a lot of efforts. Just I want to share the experience, that's all. Even if you come home, whenever you are coming to Salem, you are welcome to Salem. And at any time also you are welcome. And that too, only one request, you have to come with your family. Because you can stay at my home, no problem. You can, time permits, I will definitely explain everything. Okay, friends, just closing the session. We will meet you day after tomorrow. I'll tell the time and everything. I plan to start. It's not confirmed. Anyhow, I'll plan to cover non-performing asset. It will be in the morning, and there will be no program on Sunday. And I have planned to take LFAR, long form audit report, on Monday. So Monday I will tell the time, but kindly spare 3 hours. It requires minimum 3 hours in LFAR. And NPA also, I think minimum 2 hours, is required. And Kumarasamy sir, and thanks for your comment.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the invitation. Thank you, sir.
Sir, thank you, thank you. And you are such a senior person. You have got a lot of experience in it. And if you have got any experience on fraud detection, also you can just mail me in vanakkamaudit@gmail.com. I can share your experience with fellow members, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.